Hey there, my name is Shane Craddock, and this is the Inner Edge podcast, where I share a different take on how to lead and live a sustainable, high-performance life. Over the course of different episodes, I'm going to challenge the belief that tension, stress, and struggle are essential to success and creativity. My experience is that there's an easier way, there's a better way, and indeed there's an essential way that we need to explore for the times that we live in. So let's go ahead, let's jump in and explore. Hello there, welcome to today's episode, which is called A Big Inner Trap. And I'm taking, I suppose, maybe the inspiration for today's episode from part of my book, The Inner CEO. There's a chapter in there, or there's a section 2, which is hidden assets. And I talk about the 5 fundamentals. One of the 5 fundamentals is what I call the projector. And in essence, the projector fundamental is a metaphor for how our minds work, or one of the way our minds work. And for the projector, it's pretty much this, that your mind is like a movie projector. You experience and feel whatever you think about. Now, I'm going to read a little bit here from the book to kind of maybe, I suppose, lead us into this. In a typical projector, you have a light shining through a lens onto a screen. The original projectors had a reel of analog film moving in front of the lens. Modern projectors have an input from a digital file. The movie is projected onto a screen in front of you where you experience the movie. In this analogy, the film is your thinking. It is the creative element. The screen is your mind, the part that holds the movie to allow you to experience it. The light is your awareness or consciousness that brings it all to life through your attention, which is focused through the lens. The positives of managing what goes through the projector of your mind should hopefully be more evident to you now. This is if you've read the book, but hopefully if you're listening to this podcast too. And here's where we get to some of the meat. What you think you feel, how you feel determines your mood, your mindset, your thinking, your behavior, your actions, and therefore your results. So managing what's playing inside yourself in your projector is key in terms of getting the best out of yourself and creating a better life. But there are some dangers to be aware of, and here are 4 big watchouts. So I'm going to step out of that now, and I'm just going to share one big watchout, which is what I want to focus on in today's episode. The other 3, if you're interested, are in the book. So the first big watchout is this. Your feelings are not reality. Your feelings are not reality. I got a flashback as I was preparing for this particular episode to a memory of being with my kids in school when they were in primary school, ages or whatever, up to 4 up to 10 or 11. And, they're all taught, which is good, about their feelings in school and how to express their feelings, feel their feelings. I always remember my son, Sam, I can't remember what had happened, but he just said, "Oh, you've upset my feelings." And therefore that meant I was wrong. But it was, I can't remember, it was something quite simple, but I had upset his feelings and he was making it clear to me that I had done that and therefore I was wrong. But I think there's a problem embedded in that approach, is that just because you're feeling something doesn't mean it's reality. And I think a large part of the seemingly increasing polarization, particularly in politics or even just people having different views, is that most people seem to assume that their feelings are the reality and they act accordingly. But your feelings are not your reality. So let me just read a little bit more here. According to the projector fundamental, all of your feelings come from your thinking. This is a potential game changer for how you live your life. I found it to be incredibly liberating to know that any negative feeling I have has been created from inside me. It means that what I'm feeling isn't always the truth. It's the truth I'm telling myself. As someone who's had to deal with severe depression, this insight has been one of the major learnings for me. For example, a feeling of depression is only there because I'm giving attention to depressed thoughts and feelings. But these thoughts and feelings are like the clouds in the sky. They might be dark and heavy, but eventually, if I let them, they will pass. This insight transforms how you manage your state and moods. It also raises a big question about many of the psychological models used in therapeutic situations. If you keep talking about the past, you are activating the projector in a very specific way. In my experience, you can make the situation worse because every time you replay negative memories, you are A, creating negative experiences in the present, and B, creating a habit of thinking about certain thoughts and feelings. So that's an excerpt from a chapter which is the projector chapter in The Inner CEO. Now, for me, as I'm reading that, it just reminds me that, again, as I said earlier on, it's very hard. Something I talk to my clients about, it's very hard to get in touch with reality, which kind of confuses people thinking, well, what are you talking about? I'm experiencing reality right now. That's not necessarily the case, because I can meet somebody for the first time or talk to somebody on video, and I can say, well, what's going on in your world? And they'll tell me what's going on in the world. And that's what their reality is, apparently. But it isn't necessarily, because really the reality is hugely affected by how they think and by how they're projecting around how they think. And the problem is that if you don't really, really see that you will believe everything your inner projector shows you, what it tells you. That's also one of the reasons why diversity of perspective is so valuable, because I know myself that I have a projector and it has inherent biases in it. It's got a limited level of thinking, which a lot of it is based on my experience and knowledge. But when I'm talking to you, I know, especially in a business context, that I want to hear your perspective, because I know you have a different projector to me based on different experience and different knowledge. And while I mightn't always agree with it, I know it'll expand my overall perspective. But I think the key point with the projector here isn't so much the perspective, because that is valuable. The bigger point is around how it affects your perception of reality. Because whatever your perception of reality is will determine your behavior, which then means it determines your performance. So if I'm perceiving that you did something, like we go back to my son, that upset me, but I'm an adult now, well, maybe I get angry, or maybe I get anxious, maybe I get afraid. Another story that came to mind with this particular episode was many years ago. I was talking to a business owner who had gotten themselves into a very difficult situation. They had overextended themselves, made a big gamble on a new business venture, and it wasn't paying off, unfortunately. And they were telling me a story where they had to go into a meeting where they had to talk to the creditors of the company, people that they owed money to, and tell them that they were in the process, unfortunately, of having to wind up the business. It hadn't succeeded the way that they hoped. And this is one of the risks of when you set up a new venture, a new business. And this person told me that one of the people in the room, who they owed a bit of money to, not a small amount, basically came up to the person afterwards and said, if you don't get me my money, I'm going to have you killed. So it was a pretty serious threat. And understandably, you can imagine what that did to their head. You can understand probably what they put into their projector in terms of images. But a couple of months later, nothing had happened on any level. They were working their way through the difficulties of closing the business. They were doing it with, I think, a good degree of integrity. But then this person found themselves outside a shop where there were car parking spaces. This is 2 months after that particular episode. And they told me that they just literally were about to walk into the shop when they looked to the left and they saw this very tall, big man, I think dressed all in dark clothes, walking towards them. And they were, in their head, looking straight at them, eye contact, and they froze to the spot because in their mind, the projector said, this person is here to kill you. And they couldn't move, they couldn't scream, and the person got closer and closer. And then they walked straight into the shop. They weren't there to do anything with the person. Now, that's the power of the projector on an extreme level, because you could argue and say, well, look, hey, the person had their life threatened by somebody, and why wouldn't they get afraid? And that's true. Why wouldn't they? Having said that, that also shows the power of the mind. It wasn't true. And here's the kicker. We all get caught out in simpler ways than that all the time. And I think it's just important to be aware that you have some sort of approach or process or mechanism to at least challenge your thinking when it comes to your inner projector. Now, personally, I still get caught out all the time. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I don't, but I'm just very aware. But when I do get caught out, I move out of it quite quickly. And the key point is not to get stuck in negative feelings or negative states, because if you get stuck in them, that is the basically downward spiral on your performance, on your enjoyment of life. And that is actually what happens to most people. They get stuck in these emotions that very often your mind, the projector part of your mind, is creating. And a very useful tool very simple, useful, powerful tool is to ask this question: can I be 100% sure that what I'm thinking is true? Can I be 100% sure that what I'm thinking is true? As a side note, by the way, one of my own favorite questions that I start every year with when I'm planning is, what is true for you now, Shane? What is true for you now? And if you're on my email list, you'll know that every year for the last 13 or 14 years or so, I've brought out kind of a free PDF around Christmas called the True Success Planner. And we've updated it again this year with a couple of different questions. And it's going to come out around the 27th or 28th of December. This is 2023 when I'm recording this. So if you're a podcast only and you're interested in getting that, it's a series of questions to help you get clarity and focus for the year ahead. It's free, but I'm only going to give it out on the mailing list. And you can go to Shane Craddock with one D, ShaneCraddock.com, and you can opt in there. And 27th to 28th of December, it'll be coming out. Excuse me. So as you're listening to this episode, let's tune into your projector. What do you have in your projector for today, for the day ahead? Like, is it serving your day? Are you imagining? This is the thing about the projector, is that you can deliberately create better feelings. I can bring in better memories. I can then look at a meeting ahead, maybe in 3 hours' time, and think, instead of actually my mind kind of going, oh, this is going to be a disaster, or I feel anxious about this meeting, remember that your feelings are not your reality. And I can actually now start to imagine or project a different image in my mind. I can use the projector to serve me, to serve my goals, to serve my day. Can you imagine a good call? Can you imagine moving through work that perhaps you don't particularly look forward to? Can you see a great result for a client? Can you imagine the best for the week ahead, for today, for your life in general? And if any of this resonates, do check out the book, because I go into this in a lot more detail with a lot more tools. And it's even that chapter alone, I think, is worth the price of the book. So to conclude, your feelings are not reality. You might think that they are, but they're not. And you are the director of that inner projector. So you can actually very much hugely control and influence how you feel about reality. And then that has a massive effect on how you navigate it and how you succeed through it. That's it for this week. Ciao for now.